back to the Nutrimedical Report. And Michelle, we have a lot of announcements to make. It's, of course, a day early. So tell me what's happening.
Well, first of all, it's Thursday, not Friday.
That's right.
You'll be surprised if you're tuning in. I guess we'll be away this weekend, Bill and I, so we are doing the show today.
That's right. And you have some other announcements. Anything else major?
Yeah, the sale's coming up.
On which days?
The sale. Well, it started off to be Valentine's and your birthday, 14 and 15.
Right.
And then people say, well, they're doing this, doing that. So then it becomes, 13, 14, 15, 16. 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 days.
Yeah.
Because of the people that call in their orders, Bill. It's always complicated.
Yeah.
Online, you can do it any old time, but there are a lot of people that still like to call in and place their order.
Right. So they... That's good. Okay. So
speaking of call in and ask to talk to me anytime. I'll talk about anything. Right, Bill?
Oh, yes.
My favorite part of the week, besides this is number one, and then talking to people is number two. Didn't you just say that this morning?
Yes, I know. Well, I think what it is you really enjoy the idea of communicating with people on a regular basis to try to, keep up with what their needs are and try to translate what I'm trying to say to them so that they can understand it.
You mean like Steve I talked to this morning from Missouri. And I couldn't understand why he wasn't interested in the fact that the Rams are going to Los Angeles football. He said, he likes baseball. But speaking of football, everyone out there, I'm sure you're aware that Super Bowl, even if you don't like football, you know that it's coming up this Sunday. And our Broncos are in again. Wow.
Yeah.
But I hope it's not another slaughter like the Seahawks. I hope it's I hope it's not like that again, because we know Cam Newton is pretty awesome, but of course, we're rooting for our Broncos.
We're rooting for Orange Crush, which is
Orange
Von
Rush.
Miller.
It says
Von
on
Miller.
The Sports Illustrated, it says Orange Rush.
And Von Miller.
Crush. That's even better.
Well, he disabled all the other quarterbacks, and then if we give Peyton Manning a chance to do his plays, because he can do both running and passing plays, and he confuses the other side because he managed it himself.
You see, I'm making Bill like football. He's actually having to watch it, but not all.
I love football. I think it's a great sport. It's my favorite.
What about the concussions? You're concerned about that, though?
No, I have a formula for that.
Yeah, I know, but you have a concern about that. And
I have a concern that other people think that they can solve it, and they don't.
Oh, gosh. Can you say anything without that?
No, it's the truth. You hear them doing concussion testing on the side, and it's pretty Mickey Mouse.
Without talking about other people, just say what it is that you think is good for concussions. You
want to stop what's called upregulation of the microglia in the brain from a post-traumatic upregulation of inflammatory cytokines. And we have nutraceuticals that will stop that.
Would you mind repeating that in English?
In English, it means I'm going to stop the brain from getting inflamed after being hit.
Thank you. Okay. Gee, we're going to speak English today.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the sale is on the 7 for Heaven, free shipping. Our shipping costs have gone up exponentially.
Why?
They've doubled. With USPS and UPS, both of them.
Why have they gone up so much?
And you know how we offer the free shipping over $150? Well, on this sale, it'll be free shipping over $75. I can't do the other one because once they get the 7% off the product and the shipping, you're going backwards. You go in the hole.
Right.
It's called the hole.
Right. Yeah, well, what's happening? What happens is we're relatively lucky in America, but the economy worldwide is in trouble.
But what's going on with the post office and UPS that they have to charge so much for their?
The fact they raise it so much is unreasonable. But again, remember the government does what the government wants, and
Well, we're still offering free shipping over $150 every day. 365 days a year.
Well, I think UPS is following the lead of the U.S. Postal Service. And that's why they're increasing the rates. They also are tightening up their corporation. They used to give the UPS drivers a commission based on
that. They did. That's
right.
And
they cut the commission, too, which I think is not good because you want to encourage people to work hard at
so
their job.
So they cut their commission and they're making more money. Oh,
right.
Yeah. Okay. Norm, my dear friend from South Carolina, he felt bad. I talked to him this week, and he felt bad. He had to tell me that I could hardly hear him, that he was at the Walmart. And I said, look, don't feel bad about being at the Walmart because I go there for my paper towels and toilet paper and even our heritage, our organic milk is $4. Bill, are you listening?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you care. $4.40 at the Walmart, and down at our Albertsons, And it's the same thing
Well,
up with the bonds.
what's going on is corporate takeovers.
It's almost $6. Okay?
Well, part of that is because the groups like Albertsons and other grocery stores are conglomerating together into one mega corporation. So,
well, whatever they're doing, Walmart still offers good prices. So
Right.
I know there's a lot of controversy. Don't support the Walmart. Well, what? Are you going to support another corporation, Albertsons? Because Albertsons used to be family-owned, and now it isn't, and it's a big corporation. I say save money. Right, Norm? Save money, go to the Walmart, and get what you can get that you'd normally pay twice as much sometimes, at least more,
Right.
at the other stores. So there you go. I wanted to get that in about the Walmart. Since I've heard people say, oh, my goodness, don't be caught dead there. Well, hey, we need to save what we can save. Now, I wanted to say the cardiovasc.
Right.
People are still calling it cardiovasc. And Cardivite is now cardiovasc. It's exactly the same. But
except the Canadian version is not the same. They removed ginkgo biloba. The Canadian government interfered.
Yes.
And ginkgo has been in there forever, is now removed.
But our product is the same.
It's the same.
Exactly. Yeah. And I wanted you to know out there that is always, I keep it on free shipping. Always, always, always. So that if you're on some other product that's been hijacked from, we won't mention anything.
I do.
And you'd like to make a change.
I mention it all the time.
Well, he did hijack it, but it's not the same. But anyways.
No, it's not the same. It's
if you want
it's a Me Too formula. It's an inferior copy. How's that?
If, on a positive note, you want to try something that's really good for your cardiovascular system, the Cardiovasc, which is 180 capsules for $69.95, which is a big, big bottle, and free shipping. It'll last you a few months.
Right. I got an announcement too.
What?
I am putting together a Zap the Zika virus protocol.
Oh, good.
And also, I have an ebook that's in production right now on the Zika virus.
Wait,
I'm reviewing.
Stick with the one thing you just said. You're putting together.
Is Zap the Zika virus, which of course.
Would you mind telling everyone what that is?
Well, the first thing is we have. There are a lot of other individuals. We're not going to name any names that think that if you just quote give some herbals to boost the immune system, you're going to stop Zika. That's foolishness. Mm-hmm. You need to have, for example, my NutriDefense has 3 major components in it that's completely different. It strips off and destroys the viral capsule of all RNA and DNA viruses. Mm-hmm. It's the most powerful stimulant for the NK killer cells. And it also has components that actually stop what's called a Fenton reaction, which is necessary for viruses to invade tissue planes. And it has the most powerful anhydrous catechin antioxidant in the world that blocks the receptor binding domain so the virus can't attach.
So when are you going to put the protocol up for the...
I'll probably have it up this weekend.
What do you call it again?
Zap the Zika.
Zap the Zika?
Zap the Zika virus. In other
Zap? What's the name of the virus?
Zika, Z-I-K-A. And the virus started off...
Z-I-K-A. Zika.
Yeah. I'll just give you
your protocol is Zap.
It's going to be the Zika virus protection protocol is what it is, but I call it Zap the Zika. So, just to continue on the Zika virus, because it's a big deal, everyone in the world is going to be going to the Rio 2016 Olympics. And they've now advised, World Health Organization's meeting tomorrow, they're advising already in most of the countries for the women in those countries, which includes most countries in South America, Central America, the Caribbean, Pacific Rim, and now it's moved up to Texas. They have 3 cases now that they think are transmitted not by mosquitoes but by sexual. No, it's important I finish this.
Yeah, but what is it?
Okay, and the issue is that they told them not to get pregnant for 2 years, so 2018. Because the risk, and the thing is, it persists and it's sexually transmitted. We don't know if it's droplet spread. But what's happening is very likely this pandemic is going to affect, according to WHO already, 5 million people. It turns out that the Gates Foundation not only released I call it the weaponizing mosquito, which is an unstable genetic mutant, which weaponizes, because previous filoviruses never caused microcephaly, including Ebola and other filoviruses. This is the first since 1947, which was originally found by the Rockefeller Foundation in Uganda. And the Rockefeller, now this is important.
Hurry up,
and the Rockefeller Foundation was one of the primary funders of the eugenics program in Nazi Germany. So the Gates Foundation has a vaccine that they just announced this week from their foundation headquarters in China for, guess what, Zika virus.
Wow.
So they create the disaster, and then they try to profit from the vaccine. So they'll be vaccinating. God knows how dangerous the vaccine will be, like Gardasil. Who knows what's in it? But on the other hand, they're going to try to frighten people into taking it.
I'm sure you'll find out what's in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Later. Let's get back to the, didn't finish off yet on all the telephone calls.
Okay, go ahead,
okay? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Azura, that's a different name, from Oregon. She had wanted me to tell you, and I'm telling you right now on the air, that she had an iodine from someone else, and don't say anything. And she said she threw it out. And it's back on the Nutridine and already feels good like she did before. But she was trying to try the other one.
Trying to second guess Dr.
Well, she was telling me the truth that she tried it, and I
say,
said, okay, I love the truth, okay? So
well, that's good people are honest about
yes.
it. Yeah. Because the fact is, ours is the only Edgar Casey Tesla-activated monoatomic plasma form of iodine in the world. There are no copies of it. There are other people that try to say they have something. It's not a diatomic iodine, it's monoatomic plasma-activated iodine. It has a different spectral pattern and it has different biological actions. It will help both hyperthyroidism and hypo, protect mitochondria, stimulate your body to repair and get rid of old damaged mitochondria and get rid of old damaged cells. And it kills all known pathogens, so that it's the most important. It's the most important nutraceutical of all of our three, which is our Allison Med, which we get from Germany, Alamax Elemed from Peter Jostling, and of course the Silver 100, which is the only ionic silver. I tell people, do not get a silver lungs generator or any of these home devices. All you're making is particles that have no biological action, only the ionic form, and this is the only ionic silver in a citrate complex or ionic complex in the world. So everything else is hundreds of times weaker, and it's also dangerous because you can get silver poisoning.
Rebecca from Santa Cruz in California, and that's not too far from where the Super Bowl is,
right
by San Jose, right? Santa Clara. So Bill, wanted me to ask you today, what do you have for fatty liver, and why would a person have a fatty liver?
Fatty liver is caused by elevated insulin level, which makes your liver make adipose tissue through several different pathways. One of them is called a one-carbon pathway, where you turn protein back into sugar and then sugar into fat. And the first thing you want to take for it is Neovasc, which is a special form of niacinamide.
If I was to guess, I'd guess leptin metabolic, but I guess wrong?
Yeah. Oh. Neovasc is number one.
Okay, so not that.
Yeah, and then number two is Nutrifos, and number three is cell defense, to reduce liver inflammation.
But with the insulin thing?
The insulin thing, that's again, if you want to add a fourth thing, you'd probably start off with leptin metabolic and then dibetaline, because everybody has fatty liver is a pre-diabetic, basically. And most people don't realize the primary driver that drives diabetes further down the rabbit hole is not your pancreas, it's your liver.
Right. So I said leptin because I figure you may as well fix what's causing it, too.
Elevated glucagon is one of the primary drivers, because at night your body turns protein into sugar and then sugar into fat. And so your blood sugar is often higher in the morning than it was at night after a meal, because in diabetics, the elevated glucagon makes their body turn proteins back into sugar.
Did you know that I upped my collagen max to 2 a day now?
You're kidding.
Yeah. I'm getting,
oh my gosh, good thing I'm sitting down so I won't fall down.
What's that? What?
It's a good thing I'm sitting down so I won't fall down.
I did.
I
wanted everyone to know that.
You're following my recommendations? There must be a meteor heading toward Earth. How many minutes do we have left?
If they only knew how I don't listen to you, right? Anyway, so I am, Bill. I thought you'd enjoy that.
Yeah. I try to use metaphorical jokes, but I'm being honest. I say that being, how can I say it, stupid is like giving a fire axe to a madman in a lifeboat.
Who are you talking about?
So they drive a hole in the bottom to mix through the water.
Are you talking about me?
Well, people that won't follow recommendations, whether they're dealing with it.
Are you calling me stupid?
No, people that won't follow my recommendations. They're asking to get in trouble.
Boy,
of course,
do we ever need a commercial break right now?
If you fall into the hands of the conventional doctors, because you don't follow nutraceuticals, they will
go to
medicate
doctors.
you.
I haven't been to a doctor
or
since
plastic
2003.
surgeons or whatever it is, because you start your wrinkling and whatever, and then they want to do Botox and make your face so you can't make expressions anymore, so you won't wrinkle.
No, I'm blessed to have the collagen max.
I know you're doing well. By the way, you look great.
And the stupid thing, you better apologize.
I am apologizing, but I'm trying to tease you.
Not just me, okay?
Okay, well, in other words, do follow the recommendations, and if you need more help, we're here.
Forrest Gump says stupid is as stupid does.
He's actually correct.
Well, guess what? He's talking about you. Anyways, move along. Dorothy from Tennessee. Bill, you know Dorothy. I mean, right? She wanted me to ask you today about the cod liver oil.
Right.
And the omegas.
Right.
Where does the fish come from that goes into the oil?
It comes from Norway.
Norway. There you go.
Yeah, and it's a small fish, and every batch is processed on a special ship in Norway, and it's actually tested every batch for heavy metals and for excipients, and it's a low temperature extraction technique, so there are no solvents present. It's the best and cleanest, highest quality EPA DHA in the world. And by the way, our krill is one of the, one of the things I like to tell people is take 2 and call me when you're 100, because the omega krill has the second most powerful antioxidant, and the most important one for your brain and your blood vessel walls is astaxanthin. And we have the only krill oil that by independent laboratories actually has astaxanthin, because all the other krill oils destroy the astaxanthin, so it's not present.
Cool.
So we have the only one in the world.
After all our stupid talk, let's talk about something intelligent. Which, guess what it is, Bill? What? What's wrong?
You got that pen sticking out, and I think I got a mark on my hand.
Are you going to listen to this? This is to change the mood.
Okay.
It's the scripture.
Okay, good.
Psalm 18. I always have that just in case we need it. Psalm 18 from King James. I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. My God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower.
Good.
Praise God.
That's a good way. And
Thank
then
you.
We segued right into a commercial break.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. Excellent. Back in a minute.
That's who it's all about.
There you go.
It's all about our Savior. That's who we look to for our wisdom. What, Phil? Say that out loud. Say it out loud. Phil's whispering.
The Nutrimedical report, and of course, Ryan can't make it today, so I'll be continuing for the next hour and a half, and it's going to be open lines on wellness issues only. Hour 3, we have Dr. Bill Warner, and I always have interesting and controversial dialogues with people, sometimes friends, relatives, other people that call me or email. And I want to clarify an issue that we're going to talk about with Bill Warner in Hour 3 that's really important in dealing with the issue of immigration. I wrote a position paper, which I posted up this week, and anybody can pull it up. It's a newsletter style. It's called Critical Issues Forum. It's posted up on both Nutrimedical.com and ClayandIron.com in PDF. And I'm going to write a series of these papers, literally at least one a week, that will deal with all the major issues: healthcare, immigration, borders. Every single issue, I'm going to lay out a specific plan that's going to be very concrete, much more concrete than most of the politicians. The only one that I think puts the most concrete solutions out there is Marco Rubio, believe it or not. Ted Cruz has some. Trump is a real good salesman, but I don't see specific point-by-point points, and they need to be put in point form, even if they're controversial. And I am discriminatory against Muslims coming in from countries where you can't vet their identification or their IDs, or they may have false passports. So we need to have a system set up to take care of that. So we'll talk about that later. The first thing I want to tell people is there are a number of people out there that have already purchased over the last few years quantitative resonant magnetic machines. Now, I provide and will be providing for you and your immediate family a QRMA analysis every 6 months for each member of your immediate family, means your wife, your husband, and your kids. Not everybody, all your relatives or friends. If you do a QRMA and they said that they need to purchase a consultation fee per email, not just a blanket, but per email, it's $75, and for a phone consult, it's $150 per half hour. I will then take, and you need to fill out the PDF form for the consultations. Now, if you are getting a consultation, it's important to understand that I need to have as much data as possible. This is extremely important, so that I have actually. Let me have a look here. Where did they put my consultation form? I think they may have hidden it down here. Michelle often moves things around for me, so let's see. Where's? That's interesting. I know. Here it is. Here it is. Phone or email consultations. If you look down in the email consultation, you'll see, for example, a phone. You'll see a thing that says download product sheet. That product sheet actually lists the actual form. That's a PDF form, 5 pages. So if it says download product sheet, you need to fill that out. And you can send an additional couple paragraphs, whatever you want to do. You have to attach all of any documents, x-rays, etc. Do not mail them and do not try to fax them. I keep a file on my computer so I can actually reference back 2 months, 6 months, 5 years from now, and I can look at your old documents and files because I can search them, and they're in a digital form, and I have backup, and it's very secure. I have a very secure network. This is all designed to make sure that if you ask me a question about alternative medicine, even recommendations, medical, legally, otherwise, I can provide you answers based on that information. But I have a completed functional medicine history form, which includes not only regular medicine, surgeries, allergies, occupational exposure like military exposure. It includes everything. And it's going to take you an hour or two to actually fill that form in, besides sending whatever additional things you want to send by email. I do expect you to scan any reports, x-rays, files, surgical reports, anything else you want, alternative medical care. Give an example. I had a gentleman called in for the first time this morning, and he'd been looking at an old YouTube. And you can remember, if you see protocols that are 2, 3, 5 years old, they're updated. In fact, I'm updating everything on the entire wellness conditions, which is why January 1st, I literally made it only for our elite customers, and you can become elite by ordering 6 times in the last 12 months or ordering $1,000. And you get access to the wellness conditions, which is pretty good. You get access to, and I'm updating the wellness conditions to include video clips in both live stream and in our live stream format, so you have to have a access pass for that too. And also a lot of medical and other references. So if you're a health professional or a wellness professional or want to learn more, I'm one of the teachers in the colleges of anti-aging, environmental, and advancement medicine. And I've been doing this a very long time, and I'm science-based, which is basically biochemical, intermediate metabolism and scalar biophysics. So I'm presenting you with information that even if you're a functional medicine doc, I'm certain that most of what I'm going to teach you don't know. Now, what you should know is that when I do a consultation, it's much more, I'm tightening it up quite a bit, because I don't want just people to say, Doc, just tell me a couple of things. Well, if you're one of our customers, all you have to do is call or email if you're an elite customer, and I will give you the certain quick answer. Boom. Email, no charge. You're one of our elite customers, I'm going to give you. But if you try to inundate me with, 20 pages of legal reports or medical reports and all kinds of other things, it's going to take, a good deal of time to actually accurately go through it. And we attach to that other things. For example, the QRMA part of your assessment is covered. If you've bought a machine from us twice a year per family member, I'll provide it free, your analysis. That's a really good deal. That's why it's included in the price. The same with a bioplasm. If you have a bioplasm machine, I will give you a full assessment analysis once a year on the bioplasm. Now, the bioplasm machine, and I'm going to put out a video and a product information report on it so you can actually see the video and so on about this. It's different technology than the QRMA, but it actually will allow you to section through every organ in your body, see what's out of balance, and actually anatomically identify where it is. For example, if you've got early changes that are going to predispose to, say, a liver hepatoma, it'll actually identify what part of the liver. Or if you've got gallbladder disease cooking, or a blocked artery, or inflammation in the back of your eyes, or blood vessels, so you've got some form of vasculitis of the optic nerve head, whatever. It'll actually show you anatomically which eye and where it is. That's really cool. It also will go right down not only to the different parts of the cell in each tissue of your body, but also even right down to specific molecules and even genes. That's how advanced the Russian system developed by Dr. Nesterov and his team over the last 50-plus years. Now, what I'm able to do is I'm able to provide you with the bioplasm what's called metatherapy, which means with the hydrophones you can actually treat metatherapy or actually imprint frequencies for a vegetotherapy, where actually you can imprint them onto a frequency and you can test the efficacy of any nutraceuticals, because there's spectral patterns of the nutraceuticals that will actually match up. And so we're actually going to be imprinting all the frequencies of our Nutrimeds in the system for people to have a bioplasm. If you have a bioplasm, you can actually test to say which nutraceuticals are going to be most efficacious for a particular illness. I've also advanced beyond their science and have extracted further. In fact, yesterday I was successful at extracting the actual metatherapy frequencies from the Russian Space Agency machine, which means I can use with an oscilloscope and my technology, I can actually pull off the specific treatment frequencies, which could be downloaded or transferred to a lumen photon light therapy machine, a sound machine, pulse magnetic field, etc. That means we can do what's called entraining or epigenetic field therapy to actually help reverse the biogenetics. Now, there are transducer molecules. Many of those are in our Nutrimed line, things like ergothioneine and myco-D2. Micelle D3 is very important because D3 is very important for a transducer. Your immune system doesn't work without D3 and D2. Doesn't. So if you don't have what's called macrophage activation factor, MAF, which is a granulocyte macrophage activation factor, it's vitamin D dependent. We also have now anti-aging peptides, and I have access to them from the European Anti-Aging Association and a Russian doctor who developed them. He's the head of the European Anti-Aging and other anti-aging biomolecules that actually modulate your DNA. In fact, there's a lot of research to suggest it may substitute for the need for a stem cell transplant. You take these molecules, a little pill, twice a day, and you're done. And they target specific organs: heart, blood vessels, eyes, kidneys, whatever organ system, and we can actually modulate the DNA to reverse the aging process and help stimulate regeneration of those organs and tissues. I'm not going to mention specifically what they are, but if you have a consultation, I can obtain those for you, plus other biomolecules. So these are nutrapharmaceuticals. They're not just nutritionals. They're nutrapharmaceuticals that are specifically engineered peptides and other molecules. If you're going to request an email or phone consult, it says download product sheet. That's the one you fill out. You need to fill it out if you're doing either an email or a phone consult. Now, another side effect is this: if you do get a QRMA machine, which is an amazing machine to get, along with your functional medicine history, I can pretty well calculate out 99% of what is going on with you anywhere in the world if I just have a good functional medicine history, surgical history, vaccine history, occupational history, symptoms, previous test, everything. I'll have that information, plus all the functional medicine history, which is way more advanced than either an alternative or a regular medical surgical history. It's much more comprehensive. And a QRMA, which looks at your bioplasmatic body. Now, we have the next step up is a bioplasm, but the QRMA is amazing because it only takes a minute to do the test. If you have a machine for someone that's not your family, you could theoretically, and I'm just saying you could, it's up to you, you could charge them a small fee for just doing the test, but then if they want a consult, they're going to have to pay for it. They have to then email that, and the best way to transfer that to them is to simply give it to them on a thumb drive or email the compressed file to them. You can either do one or the other. If you email it, they can forward that email to me along with their functional medicine history, and I will then charge them for a consultation to review their QRMA and look at their functional medicine history and tell them what's wrong. I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman this morning who called, who's watched an old YouTube of how to treat hypothyroidism. This is probably, I'm going to guess 8-9 years ago probably. And he was looking at a couple different products, which have completely changed since then. The protocol, it's always being updated. And again, the top things, if you're just going to start off with the top things, because sometimes I'll have a large number of things in a protocol, whether it's, starting, mid-range and then advanced, including technologies. He had what's called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And his TSH at one point, it shouldn't be over about probably 3 or 4. His TSH was 56, means he had full thyroid gland failure. And it started off with him taking an antibiotic drug called clindamycin. Now, what often happens with drugs, whether they induce lupus or they induce autoimmune disease, they attach to tissue proteins of your cells, and they can induce your immune system to go nuts, and your T lymphocytes will attack that organ. It did. He ended up with a thyroid storm where his thyroid became incredibly inflamed, and he dumped a lot of thyroid hormone and became very hyperthyroidism as his gland is being attacked and burning out. And then eventually he goes into full-blown hypothyroidism. Now, if it smolders slowly, which is most cases, the time course from the initial inflammatory reaction, which starts off with an adenovirus, to full-blown failure, usually somewhere between 12 and 16 years. It's a real slow process. Only about 1 in 20 people that have hypothyroidism actually have autoimmune. Most, or 95% plus, have what's called thyroid resistance syndrome, TRS. And thyroid resistance syndrome is always linked to prediabetes and insulin resistance, always. You also see elevated cortisol levels and adrenal hyperfunction. When the thyroids fail, the adrenal tries to pick up the difference. And you also see elevated insulin and glucagon levels. So if you measure fasting blood insulin, even things like hemoglobin A1C and fructosamine, if you measure cortisol levels, you'll see they're elevated. And the time course during the day is abnormal. Well, he was being given initially Synthroid, which is stupid. It doesn't work. It's a T4. And if your body needs basically 7 minerals to deiodinate the outer ring to create 5' deiodination. And it's important to understand this. I did the original research on Cytomel. I brought the actual Cytomel from Germany 36 years ago, along with the head of pathology, Dr. Otto Hewen. And we were doing what's called, at that time, we were doing research on whether or not giving basically Cytomel either immediate release several times a day or a time release would correct the problem. The real issue is that every body compartment, whether it's your brain, your white or brown fat, your liver, and other organs like your muscles, peripherally convert thyroid on the spot. And the reason is thyroid, taking Cytomel is toxic. And the reason why it's toxic is because you need a certain amount of Cytomel for your heart to work, but if you give too much, you get basically a hyperthyroidism, which is too much mitochondrial action stimulated in the heart muscle, and it can cause a Cytomel-induced mitochondriopathy, which is not good if you don't want too much activity. It's like being hyperthyroid. And it's also not physiological because your body makes what it needs through your autonomic nervous system, and you need these 7 minerals to convert it, because T3 only has a half-life, if you make it, of 5.5 minutes before half of it's gone. T4, though, will last 27 to 36 hours after it's released by the thyroid gland. So if you get a pulse of T4, it'll last for a day and a half. The T3 that's released by the thyroid gland only lasts, unless it's replaced in your peripheral tissues like your liver, it only lasts 5.5 minutes before it's down to half the concentration. So you don't want to be taking Cytomel. You want to take mitothyroid, which is a full glandular, but it's not just thyroid, it's adrenal and it's hypothalamus, because your hypothalamus regulates through the autonomic nervous system and through TRH, which is also released from the argentifin cells in your bowel wall, which is called protirolin. Dr. Pier Paoli of Italy and Switzerland has researched TRH as an anti-aging molecule, and I can obtain TRH for you, but you can make it yourself if you simply take Nutrimedical, because your small bowel will release it. Now, TRH increases the peripheral ordering deiodination of T4 to T3. And it happens in the tissues under a controlled environment, and it's all, as a need to use and need to produce T3, which is the way the body works. You don't just dump in T3 with Cytomel. It gives you an idea that what I'm teaching and preaching is a much more advanced functional medicine than even if you go to one of these weekend seminars from one of our groups, whether it's ACAM or AEM, etc. I'm preaching and showing you technology like measuring KORR.com, total metabolic rate with an oxygen carbon dioxide clamp test, which can be done in a health facility, and there's a number across the country that you can go to a core facility. You can measure reverse T3, free reverse T3, T3 tests, and you can measure your core body temperature in the morning. The problem is that the typical doctor, whether it's a regular allopathic family doctor, internist, or endocrinologist, what they're preaching and doing is 25 to 30 years out of date, because they don't measure reverse thyroid hormone. And if they do, they don't understand if your RT3 is high, your TSH is useless, especially if you don't know what their core body temperature is and their actual metabolic rate. So ramming up your rate by just dumping in Cytomel is not good. Now, that's why I tell you, if you want to correct a disease, you actually have to fix the underlying problem rather than just kind of blasting it with a toxic drug like thyroid or levothyroxine and figuring it's going to fix it when it's actually a pre-hormone. Your body has to convert it by the autonomic nervous system and needs 7 minerals. You can increase those 7 minerals, but you need to have Vitamineral Max and Minerals Plus, which are tracks amino acid chelates, and you can amplify the intracellular minerals with indiumese. But if you don't have selenium in the proper form, not sodium selenite and not selenomethionine, these are toxic. Just like there's toxic forms of chromium that actually in animal studies cause cancer. Our chromium cruciferate and our selenium cruciferate do not. They're developed at Johns Hopkins University. They're organic chelates, so they're not going to induce any kind of cellular changes that are not good. So you need to understand the science of this is far more advanced than even so-called most of the primary care doctors know. They're not even the same dimension, but the alternative doctors are into what I call the Mickey Mouse level by and large. They don't understand that time-release Cytomel is not the solution to the problem, and even giving porcine thyroid is not the solution if you don't address the adrenal glands and the hypothalamus, because they're also screwed up. Also, if your thyroid is showing resistance, it's almost certain you've got insulin resistance, and the best first test to do is a fasting blood insulin. You can also measure fasting blood glucagon, because if your glucagon is high, your liver overnight is taking protein and turning it back into sugar through the one-carbon pathway in gluconeogenesis. This is quantifiable. We have nutraceuticals that will block that pathway. There are also drugs like glucophage, which has been around 60 years. So there are a minimum number of, there are lots of nutraceuticals that will help to promote that, like LipoFlush, Forskolin, things that will help to raise what's called IGF-1 levels, which will block that glucagon pathway, such as microdose and mountain red velvet. They actually will tend to block and increase the IGF-1 levels physiologically, not by taking extreme levels of IGF-1, because that's not good. You want to have the full balance of hormones. So that's why when we're trying to correct male hormone deficiencies, we don't tell you to take testosterone shots or topical transdermal creams. You want to make your body make it. That's why you want to use Men's Max to release the hormone. That's why you want to use DHA and pregnenolone. That's why if that still doesn't work, we give you Enhanced for Men. But you do not want ever to take shots or transdermal testosterone creams, because you'll convert it to female hormone unless you use things like hormone synergy, the 8-parental nerinogen, because your hormone levels in some males now is higher than their teenage daughters, because they're converting it to female hormone and they're developing breast buds in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Believe it or not. We'll be back in just a moment with hour number 2. If you have questions on health issues, 800-259-5791. Coming up in hour 3, Bill Warner, and we're going to deal with some controversial issues. And of course, I'm not a stranger to controversy, but we're going to sort it out with logic, evidence, and truth. Back in a moment.